planned. You and I are finally back, as Chen prepares his new team for some serious training with the stone slings. The very next morning, Chen heads toward the giants alongside Hangshu Hector and the silent Tina. He is happily singing away, but An is glaring at him with pure, unadulterated rage. Chen starts sweating, wondering if she is just waiting for the perfect moment to jump him. He is only in this mess because of Lisa. See, last night, Chen actually tried to get flirty. Lisa shot him down, immediately asking why he did not pick scouts from the other clans. Chen explained his plan. He specifically wanted Hector because he had seen the man's crazy combat skills. With Stonebone left in charge of the beach, the group prepares for their dangerous journey. Lisa did not care about the rest, but she insisted that An had to go along. She felt safer knowing An was watching him. Plus, she has already taught An a very severe lesson. Now pay attention here because Chen is still not feeling relaxed with An stalking behind him. He is sticking close to Hangshu, hoping his powerful friend can protect him from any surprises. Hangshu mentions a creepy feeling of being watched, but quickly brushes it off as his imagination. Hector speaks up, asking the group if they know about the massive lake just up ahead. Chen confirms he heard about it from Sam. Suddenly, Hector starts laughing like a total madman. He bets Sam saw the giants there. As a kid, Hector watched one swallow a leopard whole. He considers himself lucky to have survived back then, but now he wants a real rematch. Chen is speechless. Who in their right mind considers encountering a lake monster lucky? He tells Hector that lake beasts are boring. He is much more interested in finding actual giants. This absolutely terrifies Hangshu, who begs Chen not to jinx them with such scary thoughts. Chen laughs it off, asking if giants are even real or just a scary tribal myth. Hangshu explains that his tribe once had over 30 people before they ran into one. The giant was unstoppable. The entire clan broke apart and scattered just to survive the carnage. You and I can certainly see why the survivors could never forget such a horrific scene. Finally, Chen understands why everyone starts shaking at the mere mention of those massive creatures. Hector cuts in, warning them to avoid the local fruits that once made him deathly ill. Chen checks with his system, confirming that these colorful plants are actually filled with deadly toxins. Seeing opportunity everywhere, he asks his system to scan every single plant in this strange, lush forest. He is blown away to find that almost every leaf and stem has incredible medicinal value. Suddenly, he spots something familiar. It is cereal grass. He just found some actual grain seeds. He gets a quest to plant and harvest various grains within a 180-day time limit. Chen realizes they are finally entering the farming era. No more just hunting and gathering for them. Once they find clay, they can finally cook proper meals and brew some much-needed herbal medicine. Since the grass is not ripe yet, he makes a mental note to come back later. Suddenly, Chen feels a chill. It is not on this time. Something else is definitely out there. Chen finds a fiber leaf perfect for making rope, but Hangshu is staring at the bushes. Chen praises him for finding rope material, but Hangshu clarifies he meant something else entirely. He was pointing at a sound in the bushes. Suddenly, a hyena creeps out from the darkness. Chen realizes these beasts have been stalking them ever since they left the camp this morning. The creepy eyes they felt earlier were definitely these predators. They are clearly back for revenge. Chen tells the squad it is time to eliminate this threat once and for all today. The fight erupts, and suddenly, Ain finds herself cornered by 3 vicious and snapping predators at once. Hector leaps in and saves her effortlessly, reminding her that protecting the team is his job. The hyenas run, but we both know this fight is not over. Hector laughs at the cowards, but Chen screams at the team to not let them escape. Alright, you and I are jumping into a world where even the plants want to eat you. Even with 2 extra points in agility, Chen realized he just could not keep up with those fast hyenas. Suddenly the forest went dead silent, and he turned around to see An being snatched by a plant monster. He checked it out and found a Crimson King flower, which is basically a giant, terrifying carnivorous weed. It secretes a nasty corrosive slime from its center and spends its days hunting down local animals for its next meal. A man-eating flower, Chen was stressed because first it was tigers, then giants, and now this floral nightmare. They were getting further and further away from anything he actually understood about this crazy primitive era. An tried to fight back with her bone knife, but it slipped and melted instantly inside the flower's acidic mouth. Everyone was totally shocked, and Chen started screaming for Hanga and Hector to help save her. He shouted at them to stop standing around and do something to get Tina out of that mess immediately. Hanga yelled back that they weren't being lazy, they were actually trapped, 2 held fast by the same weird vine creature. Chen started slashing through the vines, telling An to stay strong and hold on until he could reach her. Now watch closely, because before he can even get to her, that massive hungry flower completely swallows her whole right now. Fuming with pure rage, Chen turned to save the guys only to find a pack of hyenas attacking them from the rear. Hector managed to knock some back with a lucky throw, but he warned Chen that this was all a trap. The hyenas set this up, and Hyena yelled for Chen to just run and save himself while they stalled. He promised Chen he could make it alone while they did their best to hold off the pack forever. Chen kept fighting the vines, noticing they were slow, but the hyenas were using the chaos to their advantage. He spotted some dead trees nearby and decided to take a huge gamble with a piece of flint. He sparked a fire, knowing that nothing beats a good old-fashioned oil barbecue when dealing with monsters. As the vines burned, Chen managed to pull Anne out from the depths of that terrifying man-eating flower. Once she was finally out, he urgently checked if she could still move, knowing they still had to rescue the others. Tina's dress was ruined, so Chen gave her his royal outfit to wear while they made their great escape. After getting everyone safe, they hauled it away while Chen kept setting trees on fire with his flint stones. You and I both know water means safety, so he told everyone to jump in and stay safe. He spotted some water ahead and urged them all to jump in so they could finally be protected. But a stray hyena was still hunting on, and it was about to pounce on her right then. Chen saw the danger and rushed over to block the hyena's attack, barely managing to hold it off. Hector and Hyena were totally stuck, so Chen told them to run because the fire was spreading fast. He promised to be right behind them, even though he was worried about fighting off that persistent hyena. Suddenly, an arrow flew out of nowhere and struck the hyena, killing the beast in a single shot. To his surprise, Tina was the one who fired it, having finally unlocked her hidden talent for archery. Chen asked if she actually knew how to use a bow, and she said she learned by watching him. She explained that her ankle was twisted and she was out of strength, telling the others to save themselves. Chen called her idea nonsense and tossed her onto his back so they could all get out together. Hector told them to hurry as time ran out, while Hyena refused to carry Hector to move faster. While they were running, Anne actually accused Chen of planning that whole bull attack on her clan's territory. She asked if he set the whole thing up, but he just asked why she would think that. She knew he wouldn't admit it, noting the bulls were already hurt when they entered her land. Her clan's weapons couldn't hurt them, so she wondered who exactly had managed to injure those tough bulls. Chen's people were suspiciously good at handling them, which made her really doubt his actual motives. She knew the queen wouldn't believe her suspicions, which is why she tried to assassinate him instead. Anne pressed her bone knife against his neck, asking if he could even resist her right now. She asked why he didn't just leave her in the fire and be done with the trouble forever. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. Alright, stick with me here because Yun finally agrees to play nice, though she is keeping a very close eye on him. She warns that if he ever betrays Lisa or the clan, she will kill him. Chen just accepts the terms and moves on. Yun gets frustrated because Chen is so stubborn. He still refuses to admit to anything, which is typical for him. Finally, they dive into the water to escape the flames. Chen realizes they have to pause the giant search because 2 people are hurt. Chen instructs everyone to head back to where they found those plants. They are going to need a lot more of those herbs. The scene shifts a bit later where Hanger is feeling much better. The medicinal herbs worked, and the pain is gone. Chen asks Hanger and Yun to rest for a while. Meanwhile, he and Hector head back out to gather more supplies. While they are collecting plants, Hector suddenly picks up a scent. He wonders if it is the same hyenas from the earlier battle. Chen spots some baby hyenas nearby. He realizes they were not looking for a fight, they were just protecting their little ones. Chen sees a golden opportunity to tame them as hunting dogs. He happily accepts the new system quest right on the spot. As they are leaving, a massive roar shakes the forest. Yun is terrified, but Chen is already bracing for a fight. Pay attention here because their luck just went from bad to worse. A giant bear steps out from behind the trees. Hangu screams in pure terror, realizing it is a man-eating bear. Chen is already thinking through their limited options in his head. With 2 people injured, running away is not an option. Chen orders the group to retreat while he distracts the massive beast. Hector and Yun try to argue, but Chen shuts them down. He insists they will only slow him down in this fight. He stresses that they only have 1 shot at surviving this. He demands they obey his orders without any more backtalk. Chen asks Hector to get the others to safety. Then he charges in to face the bear while everyone else makes a run. The battle begins, and Chen finds himself face to face with the monster. He tries to attack, but the bear strikes back. The impact sends Chen flying through the air. He is slightly injured, but the fight is far from over for our hero. Hector sees this and starts panicking. He tells the girls to take the baby hyenas back while he goes to help out. Hanger shouts at Hector to stay put. She has seen Chen's power firsthand and knows that he can handle this on his own. She believes even the strongest enemies cannot defeat him. Staying behind will only get in his way and hinder his movements. Hanger suggests they just follow his orders instead. Meanwhile, Chen has successfully grabbed the bear's full attention with his last attack. He decides to lure the powerhouse away so he can escape. He provokes the bear to chase him into the thick woods. Once the bear starts pursuing him, he runs in the opposite direction. He wants to make sure his friends are totally safe. Chen realizes that Hector and the others are far away now. He decides it is time to evade the bear and escape. But out of nowhere, he gets attacked from behind. Chen barely dodges, wondering if it is another monster or a giant rat. To his absolute shock, it is the saber-toothed tiger he fought when he first arrived. Even the tiger looks surprised to see him. Their reunion is cut short when the bear finally catches up. Now Chen is trapped between two of the world's deadliest enemies. You and I both know he is in a tight spot. He cannot handle the speed and strength of both of them together. He considers using the power of Pangu to end this, but doing so would leave him unconscious and vulnerable for several days. If he survived the fight but was left weakened, he might get killed by the giant stone clan. It is too risky. As both predators attack, Chen tries to maneuver away. He is hoping to trick them into fighting each other instead of him. Suddenly, his system detects extreme danger. It automatically activates an emergency escape mode to save his life in this dire moment. In this mode, Chen gets a 20-point agility boost. It also converts his strength into stamina for 600 seconds. But there is a catch. Once the mode ends, his three main attributes will be permanently reduced by 33%. Chen feels a massive surge of power as the mode starts. He leaps into the air and dodges both of their attacks. This causes the bear and the tiger to collide with each other. Chen is amazed by his new lightness and explosive speed. Even so, the predators are still chasing him. Chen starts to panic and runs, wondering why they are not fighting each other. After running for quite a while, he finally manages to lose them. He is a bit disappointed by the high cost, though. He realizes he has run all the way to the snowy mountains. He decides to make the most of his remaining time. He starts searching for the giant while he still has the boost. He covers a massive distance with every single stride. He is grateful for the escape mode because it keeps him from getting exhausted in the deep and heavy mountain snow. Upon reaching the mountaintop, he finally sees a mysterious figure. He wonders if it is the legendary giant he needs. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. Chen just finished his task and got his reward, but you and I are about to see him face something bigger. He just unlocked the second part of the giant quest, attacking that massive titan, to earn 10 attribute points. Chen was furious, asking if the system had broken, when one of the giant's pets suddenly caught his scent nearby. Chen hides quickly to avoid being spotted, and trust me, those 10 points are making him act a little reckless. Tempted by those 10 attribute points, he sprinted like his life depended on it and chucked a rock toward the giant. The stone sailed through the air and hit the titan, but it was so tiny the monster didn't even notice. But the giant's pet definitely saw it and started growling, leaving Chen totally hyped after successfully scoring his points. Then the system dropped a surprise part 3 of the quest, required him to take down the giant all alone. The reward was a massive 100 attribute points, and for someone like Chen, that kind of power-up was hard to ignore. He knew 100 points would totally change his current situation. As he debated the move, the giant was already getting annoyed by his pets and was ready to snap. With one massive slam, the ground shook as the giant roared at them to shut up, sending a shockwave through the area. Snow exploded everywhere, burying Chen completely and knocking the wind out of him with just a single indirect impact. He muttered that even 10,000 points wouldn't be worth dying for after seeing that terrifying display of raw power. A few days later, back at the newbie clan territory, Lisa was checking in with the girls from her clan. They apologized, reporting that their night patrol hadn't turned up any signs of Chen anywhere in the surrounding woods. Lisa didn't give up, ordering the Coconut Grove girls to push further out and keep searching for their missing leader. One girl suggested he might already be dead, which made Lisa lose her temper and tell her to be quiet. She reminded everyone that Chen put his life on the line for them just as a boy came running and shouting. The king had returned, and everyone rushed out to meet him, relieved to see their leader was finally back home. Mia noticed he was with another girl and asked why they hadn't lit the beacon for a rescue mission earlier. The girl explained that King Chen had specifically ordered them not to make a huge scene about his return to camp. Lisa arrived and yelled at everyone to stop crowding Chen so the poor guy could finally go back and rest. Lisa grabs him while ordering everyone back to work, and you and I can see she is totally in charge. She announced she would be his sole caretaker, and if anyone leaked his return, they would face her absolute wrath. Everyone scrambled away in fear as Chen finally relaxed, glad to see Sam and the others had made it back safely. He was surprised they even brought back hyena cubs and suggested letting Sam raise them for some extra backup later. Lisa was having none of it, telling Chen to focus on his own recovery instead of worrying about everyone else. Chen tried to say he was fine and just needed a nap, but he still wanted to handle the tribe business. He figured a good night of sleep would fix him right up so he could get back to being king. Lisa put her leg on his stomach and moved it down, saying she'd handle Sam, but reminding him who's boss. She told him he didn't have to carry the whole world, mostly because she wasn't ready to lose her man. Right then, she stomped on a very sensitive spot, making Chen freeze up and beg her to move her foot. Lisa just told him to rest and walked out, leaving Chen stunned at how dominating she was becoming lately. Outside, another member asked about his health, and Lisa assured them he was fine, but needed total peace and quiet. Inside, Chen checked his status screen and was happy to see his points had jumped up despite the rough trip. Gaining 10 attribute points made the whole ordeal worth it, even if he was feeling a little bit beaten up. He realized that strength was great, but low agility would get him killed when things got fast and dangerous. To survive, he dumped his points into agility watching as his stat climbed up to the 5-point mark. Once he hit the threshold, the cost to upgrade doubled, making him wonder how high these walls would actually go. If it kept doubling at 10 points and then quadrupling after that reaching level, 22 was going to be tough. Getting 22 points in his speed stat wouldn't be as easy as he originally thought it might be. He wondered if everything had a limit, so he decided to max out each attribute to hit that first threshold. As he boosted his stone attribute, his body felt like it was going to explode from the sudden surge of power. His clothes rip as his body grows, and you and I can see only 2 attributes are left to boost. Alright, you and I are about to dive into the wildlife of our favorite overpowered tribal king. He bumps his stamina up to the threshold before crashing. Some time passes by in the busy village. Life in newbie territory is running smoothly. Lisa is currently busy teaching the tribe how to use slingshots. She nails most of her targets, but Chen pops up right as she misfires a few practice shots. He praises their hard work, but Lisa is absolutely fuming. She really wants him to stay in bed. Chen claims he's feeling great, but then Lisa spots his brand new pants and gets very suspicious. She thinks he's seeing other girls. Chen explains that his massive power boost literally shredded his old clothes. He begs her to let it go. Lisa mentions the slinger team is finally ready for some training. Experts aren't made overnight. Chen asks how Hangshu and An are doing after their recent nasty injuries. Lisa says Hangu refused to sit around and be a burden, so he's out south guarding the beacon. She sent An with supplies for him. Honestly, there's no reason for us to worry about them today. Lisa is actually more concerned about An. Even though her injuries are light, she is very down. Lisa thinks it is because she scolded her. Chen says that An really cares, so be more gentle. He plans to rest up before heading north soon to harvest those super precious millet plants for food. Now check this out. After 4 days of work, Chen has prepared a number table from 1 to 9. He's going to teach basic math next. This is a huge jump for their little Stone Age society. He gains points for math and writing. His total technology points have finally reached 100 right now. A new technology shop opens. Chen can now trade points for useful tools and even ancient plaques. He sees a massive list of gear. Once he makes a trade, there's no going back for him. He's stoked by all the choices. Now he just has to pick his first item very, very carefully. The list is huge. It is exciting to think about what he'll choose for his first big exchange. Chen carefully scans every option. He needs something that will really help the tribe survive and grow fast. It is intriguing to wonder what he will pick. Maybe something to help with the giant stone clan. Tensions with Tina could add drama too. We'll have to see how it all unfolds very soon. Trust me, you're going to want to see this. Chen decides to buy a massive iron cauldron next. It was a total steal. He bought it because it is iron, which is rare in this world. He can carry it on his back as armor, or even use it as a solid iron shield. Most importantly, he can use it to smash enemies when things get hairy. It's a multi-purpose weapon. He's so hyped he doesn't hear a thing. Lung hears the racket and rushes in to check. Lung hears the racket and rushes inside to check on the king, fearing something bad is happening. He finds Chen doing a weird celebration dance and gets totally confused by what the king is doing. Chen claims he's communicating with the spirits. Regardless, it's finally time to get the new cauldron cooking. Our hero digs a hole by hand with a chimney for the smoke to escape outside the hut. He sets the wood and gets the water boiling. The system sees this as a huge technological step. Boom, another 10 tech points awarded. Chen recalls lessons from a favorite professor from his past life. He never thought he'd use those old lessons here. Now it's finally time for the main ingredients. He uses the bounty of the sea to whip up a fish soup. It smells absolutely heavenly now. The system grants another 10 points for his new cooking methods. Dinner will be amazing tonight, folks. The food is twice as tasty today. Suddenly, Stonebone walks in with some really good news. They finally managed to extract salt from the sea fields. It's a massive breakthrough for the whole tribe. This earns them even more points. Salt is a total game changer for the flavor of their meals. Chen rewards him with the very first bowl of soup before he gets back to his tasks. The points spent on the pot were earned back instantly. It's officially his most profitable trade yet. After the tasting, Chen tells the group to gather the whole tribe with their own wooden bowls. And that's where we leave it. You and I know they're never going back to bland food again. All right, you and I are about to see how these new flavors change everything for the tribe, especially for Mia. She had already downed 2 bowls and wanted more, but Au was worried the food supply would run out soon. Chen had to reassure her that there was plenty, and if they hit 0, he would just cook more. He needed to feed the guards and patrol teams anyway, so the guys at the outpost were getting soup too. Chen planned to deliver the fish soup personally. He honestly loved teaching the tribe these new and delicious survival skills. Seeing their happy faces was worth it, so he vowed to teach them how to use chopsticks like civilized people. While everyone was busy eating, Chen opened his technology store to find some useful items for their growing village. He had saved up 100 technology points, and it was definitely time to swap them for a major upgrade. The math and farming stoves were useless right now, so he immediately tossed those options right out the window. To grow crops, he needed precious seeds that the tribe still hadn't managed to find in the wild yet. Now pay attention here. He was suddenly interrupted with news that a trap to the north had been triggered. There were no human tracks nearby, so it was likely just some wild beast caught and still clinging to life. Lisa suddenly appeared, showing off her ruthless side as she ordered the guards to just finish the creature off. She was annoyed that Chen was too busy for her, so she crashed the meeting to demand some attention. Chen was focused on building his home and upgrading the tribe, but Lisa had other plans for his time. He kissed her as a pledge of loyalty, which left her totally stunned and completely speechless for once. He turned back to the trapped animal, thinking that instead of a meal, this beast could be tamed. He left the manual labor to Lisa while they went to gather more nettles, since their supply had run out. The big goal was finding millet grains so they could finally start planting their own fields of gold. On the way to the traps, Chen scanned the ground for seeds, but he did not find anything useful yet. They finally arrived at the site, but the area around the trap was eerily quiet and strangely still. Looking inside, they were shocked. The beast had been howling for help earlier, but now it was just snarling. The animal was a hyena with a pierced leg, clearly suffering as it searched for a quick meal. Sam's nose was sensitive to the scent of milk, and he immediately recognized that this hyena was a mother. This was likely the mother of the hyena cubs they found seen earlier, and Chen felt a sudden responsibility. He ignored the danger of her sharp claws and prepared to head down into the trap to save her. They used a rope to wrap the beast and easily hoisted her up to the top together. The hyena was so weak from her wound that she became as docile and obedient as a pet dog. Sam was put in charge of her recovery, with Chen asking him to keep the animal well fed. This was not going to be easy since the cubs had already been refusing the meat Sam offered them. Sam struggled to find the right food, but the little ones were getting thinner and weaker by the day. You and I can see that raising baby hyenas is way tougher than it looked at first glance. Saving their mother was their only hope. Chen ordered them to tie her up and bring her the meat. Taking her to the cubs should be enough to save them, so Sam rushed back to the tribe immediately. Chen hoped the wild beast would not cause trouble and would eventually allow themselves to be fully tamed. While a warrior checked the other traps, Chen and the group continued their journey even further into the north. The further they ventured into the wild, the more dangerous and exotic animals they started to encounter. Luckily, the plan worked. They found wild millet that was perfectly ripe and ready for a big harvest. If they had waited any longer, the crop would be gone, so this was a true divine blessing. With extra time before heading home, Chen decided to start gathering some important medicinal herbs for the tribe. It was easily their most productive day yet, as they filled their bags with resources before the sun set. But as dusk fell, the forest giants woke up. The roar of a bear sent everyone into hiding. They tried to stay silent and hidden, but the massive animal was moving incredibly fast toward their position. Usually you would drop everything and run, but Chen refused to lose their precious herbs and millet. Stick with me, because this bear encounter is about to get more intense than we expected. Alright, you and I are about to see our hero make a decision that seems totally insane. He didn't want to waste resources, so he told everyone to wait for the animal to leave while they stayed hidden in the brush. To our protagonist, their frantic, ready-to-run poses looked absolutely hilarious, and he almost burst out laughing right then and there. That bear wandering around might actually be an old acquaintance, but the team is getting way too relaxed for their own good. Once the beast quieted down, the team started asking annoying questions that really started to tick off Chen. He threatened to toss them right into the bear's mouth, but his shouting just made things much worse for everyone. The beast heard him and started charging back, roaring like a maniac and smashing into every single tree in its path. It was stumbling and falling, constantly, clearly injured and unable to calm itself down after whatever had happened to it. Seeing the beast struggling, Stone Bones suggested they should just catch the bear and turn it into a nice dinner. But they weren't the only ones hunting. After a stranger yelled, the bear scrambled up and bolted away. This time, warriors from the mountain tribe were the ones giving chase, and Hector was itching for some payback. Driven by revenge, Hector almost leaped out of the bushes to charge them, which would have ruined their entire cover. Thankfully, Chen reacted fast and yanked him back into the brush, even though they made a pretty loud rustling sound. They managed to hide, but the noise definitely caught the attention of one of those men from the mountain tribe. Now here's the part you and I should watch closely. Hector's rage is about to totally boil over. He didn't understand why the protagonist stopped him, but you can't let anger cloud your vision during a situation like this. The enemy had way more soldiers, so a direct attack would have been a total disaster for their small group. Their only real edge was that the enemy was out in the open, while they stayed hidden away in the shadows. Even if Hector was dying for a battle, he had to wait for the perfect moment and listen to Chen. Meanwhile, the poor bear finally collapsed in a clearing, completely wiped out and unable to move a single muscle. One of the hunters started mocking the animal, poking and prodding it just to force the exhausted creature back up again. However, the leader of the mountain tribe wasn't a fan of those games. The bear had eaten poisoned venison after all. It had also been stabbed in the stomach, so the fact it ran this far was actually pretty impressive to everyone. Since mocking a dying animal was beneath them, the leader punished the hunter by literally throwing him into a tree. The chief ordered his men back while he prepared to give the bear a quick, albeit very painful, final end. He pulled out an obsidian blade made from volcanic glass, ready to finish the job with one swift, sharp strike. Chen realized these primitive people were smarter than they looked, especially since they knew how to use poison bait like that. But then the system threw a total curveball and ordered Chen to save the bear, forcing him into a really crazy situation. Risking a war for a bear that just tried to kill him seemed completely absurd to our hero at that moment. I know what you're thinking. Why save the bear? Well, the system has its own very weird reasons. With no time to hesitate, Chen had to accept the huge risk while cursing the system under his breath. As he approached the target, his anger actually gave him the boost he needed to stop that obsidian blade. He totally ruined the leader's big moment in front of the warriors, turning the whole execution into a giant mess. By swooping in to steal their prey, Chen's team had just painted a massive target on their own backs. He decided to just trust the system for now, hoping that saving this bear would actually be worth it. Right after he stepped in, the system pinged him with a side quest to treat the animal's wounds and poison. The bear was suffering from dope poisoning and a gut wound. He had 10 minutes to save its life. If he didn't stop the bleeding and neutralize the toxins fast, the animal was going to be total history. Chen had totally overlooked the poison when he jumped in, but now he had to find a quick solution. He realized his task was just to save the bear, not necessarily to fight the entire mountain tribe right then and there. Conflict was a bad idea, but there was zero time left to negotiate a peaceful trade for the dying beast. Meanwhile, the enemy leader recognized Chen from his time with the Sea Tribe and looked pretty annoyed to see him. His disrespectful tone made Hector grit his teeth, just waiting for the signal to start swinging his own weapon. Stick with me because things are about to get really painful for our poor hero right about now. Certain parts of Chen's body. Alright, you and I are diving into a story where the main character's manhood is literally on the line. Chen's worried Lisa will dump him with a pile of grain. He wasn't about to let his legend end like that. Pure rage mode activated. He showed off his power, ready to risk everything just to save this poor beast. He was prepared to break his own bones for the rescue, but told the others to stay safe and watch out. The brawl kicked off. Everyone formed a shield around Chen so he could focus on patching up the bear. He stopped the bleeding in record time, but the real challenge was just starting with that mysterious poison. It was a toxin he'd never seen. Since he was playing doctor, the team started losing ground without his combat skills. Things were looking grim. Everyone was taking heavy hits, and it felt like someone might actually not make it out. Even with brutal wounds, they refused to back down. They were determined to give Chen the time he needed. Out of nowhere, the mountain tribe's leader called for a halt. The battle suddenly stopped right in its tracks. Surprisingly, he was impressed. For a random group of travelers, they were fighting with some seriously incredible teamwork. He decided to be a nice guy and offer them a chance to walk away with their lives. But Hector wasn't having any of it. He had a major grudge to settle and wanted some immediate payback. According to him, they were just getting started. Even though it was late, they were still totally fired up. They wanted to intimidate the enemy and give Chen some peace of mind while he fought the poison. Now pay attention, because this is where the clock really starts ticking. Chen only has 6 minutes left. He still couldn't figure out a cure. Even his strongest ally, Stonebone, was barely hanging on at this point. If he failed this mission, he knew the system would never let him live it down. He felt the mockery already. To survive this mess, he was willing to do anything, even if it meant looking like a total clown. The enemy chief accepted their challenge. He dropped into a stance and slammed his foot down with terrifying force. The shockwave was massive. No one had ever seen anything like it, and the whole team just froze in fear. Chen jumped in, sacrificing his own weapon to shatter the wave and kicking up a huge cloud of dust. He really wanted to avoid this fight, but it looked like he didn't have a choice anymore. He had to intervene. This definitely got the chief's attention. He wanted to know the name of this fearless tribe standing against him. He'd underestimated them as mere wanderers, but now he realized he was dead wrong about their true strength. Bullying a small group with his whole army wasn't his style, so he decided to let them go for now. He promised to settle the score another day with even numbers. For today, the mountain chief was actually quite satisfied. He acted honorably and retreated, taking all his wounded warriors back home with him. That included the loudmouth who got tossed into a tree earlier. He was in bad shape and needed a lift. Just like that, our crew avoided a total disaster. But the main problem was still very much alive. I know what you're thinking. Why save a bear in such pain? Well, let's find out together. The mountain tribe was baffled. Why would their leader just walk away from such perfect prey? It turned out they were low on ginseng, the plant they usually use to boost their physical power. Plus, the sorcerer's magic was wearing thin. The chief knew Chen was a lot tougher than he looked. Blocking a punch that had 70% power behind it, that's not something a weakling can do. Looking at how calm our hero was, the chief was sure he was hiding some massive trump card. He took one last look at that obsidian blade and vowed to go all out next time they met. Back at the camp, Chen was desperate. None of his teammates had any clue how to handle this weird drug. Some of them even questioned why they were putting in all this effort for a creature they'd usually eat. There was zero time for a debate. This was a literal life or death moment for the poor animal. With only one shot left, the system gave him a final chance to make things right. Chen grabbed some honeysuckle and burdock. These herbs were known for detoxing, but would they work here? They pried the beast's jaws open and shoved the mixture down its throat, hoping for the best. Chen held his breath, counting down the seconds and praying for a miracle as the timer hit 0. And trust me, you and I are about to find out if the system finally takes pity. Alright, you and I are back, as our hero finally saves the bear and things start to stabilize. Hector was ready to hunt the mountain tribe immediately, but the rest of the crew needed a moment to breathe. Being a wise leader, King Chen explained that rushing in blind against an unknown enemy is just a bad idea. Acting rashly would only lead to pointless losses, and even a lucky win would be a hollow victory at best. He refused to trade his men's lives for petty revenge, especially since the mountain tribe would likely come to them. He needed time to plan and build up his forces, so he convinced everyone to head back to the village. While the others left, Chen stayed to watch the bear and sent Stonebone to arrange for extra camp security. Being alone with a wild animal in the dark made for a very long night, especially with predators lurking nearby. The scent of the bear attracted hungry visitors, so our main character had to spend all night fighting them off. Chen ended up battling wild beasts until dawn, though he was surprised by just how delicious the meat actually tasted. As the sun rose, the bear finally woke up his nose, twitching at the mouth-watering smell of roasted snacks. Our hero offered a peace offering of meat, hoping the big guy wouldn't mind a little bit of home cooking. Just in case bears aren't into barbecue, he left a pile of raw rabbits on the side for his guest. By the time the fire died out, Chen and his fluffy new friend were both well-fed and ready for rest. Stick with me, this is where the system finally pays out. Those legendary bear sympathy points we wanted. He had to decide how to distribute these rewards into his different character stats right away. Chen dumped everything into physical strength until he reached a massive new peak, becoming an absolute unit of a man. He was feeling great about his new muscles when the bear suddenly dropped a gift of its own food nearby. Accepting the bear's token of loyalty, our hero shared a final meal before it was time for their separate ways. Chen hoped to see him again, but the animal refused to leave and grabbed onto his clothes like a toddler. The bear clearly wanted to join the village, and he was putting in a lot of effort to stay with Chen. Feeding this giant beast would be expensive, but having a bear bodyguard would definitely make our hero look incredibly cool. Even though he was a bit clumsy, Chen officially named him Shunda and welcomed him into the tribe as family. Shunda celebrated by tackling Chen with huge bear hugs and licks, ready to follow his new boss anywhere he went. With a powerful new assistant by his side, our hero decided to scout the path the mountain tribe had taken. Riding on Shunda's back, they easily tracked the reckless trail the enemies had left behind in the dense forest. The deeper they traveled, the more bamboo they found, which gave our clever hero a brilliant idea for construction. Bamboo wasn't just for building, it was the perfect material for crafting some high-quality old-school firecrackers. If he could mix the right chemicals and pack them into these bamboo tubes, he would have a secret weapon. You and I both know that even a small explosion can totally freak out an enemy tribe during a battle. Even if the blast doesn't hurt them, the terrifying noise alone would be enough to send those warriors running home. He already had some saltpeter and coal, but finding sulfur was going to be a much more difficult task overall. Sulfur is usually found near volcanic activity, so Chen fired up his system map to start the search for it. Just as he thought the map showed a volcano near the frozen giant, so he decided to take a risk. Last time he was here, he was too busy running for his life to check the area for useful resources. Having Shunda around would make things much easier this time, so they headed north toward the massive volcanic peaks. They moved at full speed until they reached the same lake where Hector and Sam had their close call before. Chen told Shunda he had been here once, but he hadn't exactly been in the mood for a casual stroll. Now was the perfect time to make up for those missed opportunities while keeping a very close watch for danger. They approached the water quietly, half expecting to see the legendary sea monster they had heard so much about. The lake seemed calm at first, but Shunda suddenly bristled and took several nervous steps away from the water's edge. Massive air bubbles began breaking the surface, showing that something truly enormous was about to make an appearance from below. A giant head emerged with a thunderous roar, and the creature that climbed out was a literal prehistoric nightmare come true. It was a Tyrannosaurus Rex looking for a snack, but a broken rope on its neck suggested it had owners. Trust me, you and I were not expecting a dinosaur to be part of the enemy's personal pet collection. Geez, alright, you and I are diving back into this wild survival story where things just got a little bit hairy. That collar around the bear's neck? It probably belongs to a sleeping giant. Talk about a very dangerous runaway pet. So the beast that spooked the saber-toothed tiger and left those massive tracks was likely a Tyrannosaurus Rex. If that is true, the giant on the mountain has been snoozing for 15 days. Still, we should move. It would be foolish to waste their only chance of escape. As the creature turned, Chen ordered Junda to run. The bear obeyed and headed deeper into the snowy biome, but the snow was getting thicker with every step. Eventually, they had to stop. If an avalanche triggered right now, there would be no way for them to escape. Chen hopped down from Junda, which actually worried the big guy. The main character wanted to walk on foot. He decided to walk behind the beast to protect it from danger. He told the bear to stay very alert. Bringing the bear along was a brilliant move. Its powerful paws sent the snow flying, revealing the frozen ground. Suddenly, Chen's sharp sense of smell picked up a pungent odor he recognized immediately. He searched for the source. The deeper they dug, the stronger that scent of matches became. It was exhausting, but he finally found the source. A massive deposit of sulfur. This could be the perfect tool they need for the battle with the mountain tribe. Wait for it, this discovery is the exact secret weapon our hero needed to turn the tide of the whole war. He was thrilled. With these massive reserves, they can start making firecrackers tomorrow. The tribe is in for it. After gathering all the resources he could, Chen loaded up Junda, and they finally started the long trek back home. Sam was waiting at the settlement, overjoyed to see Chen back, but then everyone noticed the bear following him. Nobody expected a bear to be part of the crew. To avoid panic, our hero introduced Junda to the village. He asked everyone not to harm the beast. It took a while for people to relax around such a predator. Pretty soon, everyone wanted to take the bear for a ride, but Chen didn't want to bully his new friend. He promised to find more mounts later. After unloading, he asked Ao to dry some bamboo without explaining why. Then he checked on Lisa, who was fearless as she stared down the massive animal. She was clearly impressed. She was so proud of our hero, but that peaceful moment didn't last. Bad news was already waiting for him. Okay, I know what you were thinking. Can he have just one day of peace? Not in this world, apparently. A giant sea monster appeared near the shore, wrecking the salt farms and keeping all the local fishermen away. After hearing about the chaos, our protagonist told the messenger to stay calm. He was going to handle it himself. Riding Junda, he reached the coast in minutes. Broken boxes were floating everywhere in the surf. It was a mess. The culprit was an ichthyosaurus, a massive predatory sea reptile that looks like a fish but has a nasty attitude. This one was still young and wanted to destroy everything. At 7 meters long, it was a major problem. Its behavior even had Chen on edge, but he wasn't about to let this monster escape after trashing their beach. If they didn't stop it, it would just keep rampaging. The plan forced the reptile onto land to weaken it. Chen explained the strategy out loud before charging Junda toward the sea to attack that foolish sea monster. On the first clash, the bear was knocked back. This forced the monster to expose its belly for an attack. At the very last second, our hero leapt off the bear and slammed his axe deep into the reptile's flesh. The creature went berserk with rage. It twisted its body, trying to snag Chen in its jaws and dive deep. It worked. The ichthyosaurus grabbed him and started diving toward the seabed at top speed, cutting off his air. Chen realized he would drown long before the monster ate him. He desperately tried to pry those massive jaws open. Using every ounce of strength, he fought back. Meanwhile, Junda was right there trying to pull the beast back. The bear grabbed the reptile's tail, stalling its descent. Junda was smart, but this was a massive struggle. Between the crushing jaws and the lack of oxygen, it was becoming too much. Even our hero was starting to fade. And just when you and I think it is over, a mysterious figure rises from the dark depths to save him. Armed with twin daggers, she slashed at the reptile's body until it finally released its grip and swam away. Blood painted the water, a murky crimson hiding the mysterious girl from view as our hero gasped for air. Without oxygen, his limbs started going numb, making it impossible for him to swim. He was losing the fight. He faded out. All right, you and I are diving back into Chen's wild journey just as he's fading out. Chen wakes up on the sand with Zunda and the tribe hovering over him, looking totally stressed. He hacks up some seawater, spots his savior on a rock, and waves Alana over to chat. She's the top swimmer in the sea tribe and knows exactly where to hit those giant reptiles. Look, the sea tribe isn't known for being geniuses, but Alana seems a bit extra empty-headed. Since she literally just saved his life, Chen plays it polite and gives her a sincere thank you. But he's really wondering where she found those sweet obsidian daggers. Turns out she took them off a bad guy who invaded their territory. She almost starts a brawl, thinking the crew is trying to jack her new weapons. Once she hears about Chen's high rank in the village, she finally cools off. She's clearly struggling to process all this info, but she gets that he wants to help out. Once the trust is there, Alana spills about the day the mountain tribe attacked them. She got knocked out fast, waking up to find her brother Fang trapped in a cave. They were being treated like slaves, forced into the worst dirty work. Now watch this part carefully, because Fang is about to launch a desperate escape plan. He jumped the guard and tossed the weapon to Alana so she could leap off the cliff. Fang knew it was her only shot, so he ordered her to just listen. He told her to find Hector, the luckiest guy he knew. Suddenly a guard spots them acting weird and moves in to deal out some pain. That guard's ego backfires big time when Fang hits him with a literal carcass. Using the heavy animal, they were dragging Fang pins the guy down. Alana grabs the guard's weapon, hits the river, and escapes the mountain tribe's clutches. That's how she ran into that monster, about to snack on Chen, and found her friends. Chen tells her to head for the logger to find Hector, like Fang planned. But she's not leaving empty-handed with a dead sea monster just lying there. They load the beast onto Zunda and drag it across the beach together. They stumble into Hector and Stonebone, who were out looking for their king. They're shocked to see Alana, and honestly, it's a pretty long story. Hector learns that 10 more of their people are still being held captive. They need a rescue mission, but charging in without a plan is just suicide. Let's pause, because that's smoke on the mountain. You and I know that's bad. A signal fire is screaming danger on the western mountain, and animals don't light fires. Chen is on high alert, remembering the mountain tribe leader's threats of revenge. He needs to check the borders and see if an invasion started. He tells Stonebone to get everyone to the fortress right away. The warriors gear up, turning the place into an untouchable stone shield. Hector and Alana head to the mountain to set up a nasty ambush. They just have to wait by the traps until Chen arrives with backup. As Chen races back, he's praying that the fire was just a mistake. Lisa is waiting for him, totally stressed about that beach fight. She's been imagining the worst, but smiles when she sees he's okay. She tells him to rest while she scouts, but there's zero time. He appreciates the help, but that signal fire is all he sees. If Hector loses his cool now, everything falls apart. Chen has to go. So you and I are about to see Chen handle this personally. Alright, you and I are about to dive into the action with Chen's elite squad, Hangshur, Lu Chu, Sam, and Ayu. He left the rest of the group behind to defend the settlement and treat the wounded with Lisa's help. Sam found a high point to watch the area so she can bring reinforcements if danger appears, even though Chen wanted a small team. Mia actually threatened to follow them anyway if they did not bring her along. Talk about a stubborn teammate. So Chen finally just gave in. After giving the orders, our hero puts Liang in charge of the queen and immediately heads west to regroup with the rest of the team. By the time they reach them, it is already getting dark. Normally, that is a bad thing, but it actually plays right into our hero's hands. See, at dusk, it is way harder to spot traps or hideouts, but the mountain tribe is not exactly trying to stay hidden in the shadows here. They are marching right toward the border with torches lit, basically announcing their arrival. It is like they are looking for a fight and do not care. Suddenly, their leader stops the whole tribe right before a death trap. It is almost like he sensed the danger waiting for them in the dark. He guesses Chen is waiting there and challenges him to come out for a fair fight. He is surprisingly confident for someone walking into an ambush. No one understands how he is so sure our hero is there, but the team stays hidden. That is when the leader explains his clever secret. The forest was just too quiet. No birds singing, no bugs chirping, no frogs croaking. It is a classic sign that something big is definitely hiding nearby. Animals usually flee their homes when a large group stays in one spot for too long, essentially giving away the location of any hidden traps. Chen's team still does not budge, so the chief starts throwing out threats. He hates using his special powers, but he is tired of playing hide and seek. He wants a real battle, not a game. Finally, our main character steps out from the shadows, ready to meet his enemy face to face. Now here's the part you and I need to watch closely. The mountain tribe is completely surrounded, giving Chen a massive tactical advantage. The leader actually looks happy about it since the numbers are even. He raises his obsidian blade and challenges Chen to a one-on-one duel. He can finally fight with everything he has without worrying about his status. But Hector has his own plans for some cold, hard revenge. He does not care about honor or fair play at all. Seeing his chance to avenge the sea tribe, Hector shamelessly tries to strike from behind. They were just inches away from an epic clash when another warrior stepped in. Moody blocked Hector's path, taking the hit with all his strength. The two of them locked together like stubborn rams, neither one willing to back down. They left deep tracks in the dirt while pushing against each other. At first, it looks like Moody is losing because he is smaller, but he is way faster than Hector. The chief is definitely impressed by his thinking. He praises Moody for the save and tells him to go ahead and play with Hector. Moody then gathers his energy for one massive move. With a huge burst of power, he tosses Hector into a rock, sending a massive shockwave through the ground. The impact was absolutely brutal to watch. Even Chen is a bit shaken by that kind of raw strength. Hector had never lost a fight before, so our hero is starting to feel worried. Just as an enemy warrior passes under a trap, Ayu drops a massive log tied to a tree. It should have been a devastating blow for anyone. But get this, you and I are about to see something impossible. The guy just pushes the giant log aside like it is a toy. This second mountain tribe fighter is showing off some serious strength. It is enough to make our hero completely forget about the original trap plan. After Hector gets slammed into that rock a few times, thick blood starts flowing from his mouth. Moody is clearly ready to finish this fight fast. He is not about to lose to some new guy, but Hector isn't done yet and manages to dodge the final blow just in time. Close call. Hector is just as stubborn as they come, clinging to life until the end. This time he catches the enemy in a death grip and holds on. He drags Moody toward the water, where he has the advantage. Moody kicks the ground with all his might, trying to break free from his grip. He is trying to get out of those clutches, but he only gets stuck further. Suddenly, Alana jumps from the river and attacks him from behind. With him pinned down, it should be an easy kill for Alana. She moves in to stab him in the back, while he is still stuck in place. But the enemies are not letting that happen. They literally throw their own comrade at Alana like a ball, knocking her straight back into the water. The mountain tribe is so wild, they will even fight in the river, despite the unfavorable conditions. Now Alana has to fend off a total stranger. While everyone else is having fun, the twin brothers complain to their leader. They are annoyed that Moody and Shu Hao started the party without them. They honestly do not care who they attack, so they target our hero since he is just standing there watching his soldiers struggle in the field. The twins immediately rush toward him, hoping to end the fight quickly, but they have to face some serious obstacles before they can reach the king. Hengshi and Lang Yu step in to block their path. They will have to go through the rest of the warriors before attacking the king. That means their fun is going to be delayed for a bit. The twins quickly divide their opponents and agree on a shameful bet for the loser. Even with their lives on the line, they rush into the fight with crazy smiles. They are completely ready to bathe in the blood of the enemy. With their weapons swinging and hearts racing, the real war has only just begun. It is an all-out brawl between two powerful and determined tribes. Both sides are pushing their limits, and the outcome is anyone's guess. It is a high-stakes game of survival where only the strongest will stand tall. Trust me, you and I just watched one hell of a story beginning. It is about to get even crazier, so do not go anywhere just yet. Alright, you and I are watching Shuo struggle to pick a side because fighting is the only thing he knows. To help out against the newcomers, he went looking for a weapon, and luckily, he didn't have to look far. A massive log was right there. He ripped it off the ropes and tossed it over his shoulder, breaking the trap. With that huge weapon, he charged at the leader, fighting Chen. Honestly, Chen was not feeling the help at all. He sent Shuo off to find his own dance partner. A bit disappointed, our big guy went looking for MTI instead. But MTI was already busy with Hector. Our hero knew Hector couldn't handle a 2-on-1 fight in that state. He rushed over to aid his friend, but the leader of the mountain tribe blocked his way immediately. He slashed his blade with all his might, forcing Chen to retreat and pay attention to him. The chief was irritated that Chen was looking down on him, so he forced the attack time after time. That obsidian blade kept whistling past the protagonist's throat, threatening to take off his head right then and there. But his aura successfully blocked those brutal hits. The chief just grinned and told him to pay attention. He wanted to see Chen's real power for a true war of kings. Our hero realized he was stuck. Now watch this. The chief wants to see his true power starting a real war between kings, while Chen stays trapped. Our hero realized he wouldn't be let off easily, and there was nothing he could do to help Hector. He switched to heavy artillery and ordered his team to find someone to stop Shuo's advance. Shuo was dragging that log along the ground, leaving a deep ditch behind him as he got closer to Hector. Hector was getting tense, but before Shuo could engage, the log suddenly became way too heavy to lift. He looked back and saw Mia. She only joined the fight after the king gave the order as promised. When it comes to pure strength, she's a total beast. Shuo sized her up and prepared to attack with those arms. He wanted to pull her in, but suddenly an arrow hit his limb, piercing right through his skin. A second arrow followed, immediately aimed straight for his face. Talk about precision from our team on the sidelines. He blocked it with his arm to protect his eyes. His body is basically as strong as heavy armor. You and I can see he's actually happy here. He finally has 2 whole playmates to fight with at once. Seeing his joyful face, the leader allowed him to continue the lopsided duel since Shuo didn't seem to mind. Let him have his fun now, because once he returns to the mountain, he'll be all alone again. Meanwhile, Sam and Au were covering their friends by sniping at the enemy's weak spots during the bloody war. They were doing their best, but that bear trap Au used earlier, it didn't slow Shuo down at all. He just stood there like nothing happened and pulled her off the rope. Brute force was their only option left. They couldn't escape the ambush, so they had to distract the enemies, while Sam ran back for more reinforcements. While Ao tried to change the tide, Hector kept up his assault on MTI, who was desperately trying to escape. MTI tried to break free by punching Hector's back, knocking the wind right out of his lungs with every blow. The sound of those hits was intense. Unfortunately, they were so strong that Hector's mouth started to bleed, but he didn't stop. He kept pushing MTI toward the river to end this fight as fast as possible. He lifted him up and ran for the water, wanting to see if these mountain guys could actually swim. He was so close to victory, but then Alana appeared and told him to stay away from the riverbank. It was way too dangerous. That guy who got tossed in earlier was still there attacking everything he could see. Right then, hands reached out and dragged her under. This made Hector really nervous for his friend's safety right now. That moment of worry cost him. MTI landed several more hits, leaving red marks all over Hector's gray-colored body. Hits to the same spot caused internal bleeding, and he finally fell. But he still wouldn't let go of MTI. Even while down, he held empty. Gathering his last bit of strength into his fist, he suddenly lifted him up. He threw him over his back, slamming his head into the ground with a fatal blow. A stream of blood appeared on MTI's forehead as he lost consciousness and hit the dirt. Hector wasn't doing any better himself. He followed him down to the ground, trying to focus his eyes, but the whole world just kept blurring. Despite the pain, he knew he had done enough to give his friends a fighting chance to win today. And that's where we leave it. Hector collapses, his vision blurring. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. Stick with me, our hero left the fight to his tribe, while Luchu and Hanger faced off against the twins. They prepared a special trick they had recently invented and were dying to test it on the mountain tribe. To do this, they surrounded the twins from different sides and rushed forward in perfect synchronized motion for combat. Xiao laughed like a total lunatic, unable to believe these rookies were actually trying to attack them like that. He was enjoying their silly antics, noticing that Lang was moving way slower than his partner Heng Sure was. The twins attacked him at the same time to break their plan using the most underhanded moves they could. Within seconds, Langachu was blinded and clutching his eyes, but Hanger immediately rushed in to save his friend. Instead of hitting the blind man, he told them to find someone who could actually handle their real strength. Without hesitation, he threw his hunting axe forward and landed a direct hit right in the enemy's injured shoulder. Now it was a fair fight between wounded warriors, even though our hero was left without his primary weapon. Knowing he couldn't block an obsidian blade barehanded, he held up a small shield to draw all the attention. Now pay attention here, this was a calculated distraction while he counted the steps for Languo's secret attack timing. But the shield wasn't enough, and the enemy deftly got close enough to pierce him right in the stomach. He was left 2 steps away from the attack point, with the twins totally confused by his weird counting. When they were just 1 step away, the twins finally realized the true value of this desperate synchronized plan. Hanger used every bit of his remaining strength to grab the twin and hold him in place for impact. Langu began the second phase knowing a single axe swing would be enough to kill a massive mountain bear. Xiao didn't realize what was happening at first, but seeing Lang above him made him terrified for his life. He struggled to break free, and just in time his brother appeared and shoved him aside to take it. The green grass turned blood red as Xiao watched in horror while his brother suffered from the axe's blow. Meanwhile, Ayu did her best to help Mia against Shu, who was way too slow to dodge her arrows. He was so thick-skinned that even after being hit, he didn't seem to feel any real pain at all. His arm looked like a porcupine, but the arrows were only digging a few centimeters into his tough skin. Mia was struggling to stay on her feet while swinging that heavy log, so Ayu looked for an opening. Luckily, the same rope used for the log was nearby, and Ayu came up with a clever new plan. Ayu knew her hints would be understood, so she started firing her arrows directly at the discarded rope nearby. You saw that too, right? Mia immediately rushed toward the rope to set up their next big tactical move. Sho became concerned when the resistance stopped, thinking they didn't want to play with him anymore, but he was wrong. She distracted him like a big kid, while she quickly wrapped his legs in a tight and inescapable knot. He was having fun watching her run circles around him until a sudden blow to the head brought him down. He was caught off guard until that sudden blow to the head brought him to his senses on the ground. Mia put every effort into knocking him down in one go, and celebrated her hard-earned victory hearts and souls. While other fighters were already deciding on the winners, Hector wasn't allowed to rest because MTI got up quickly. He was way too overconfident, and had seriously underestimated Hector, who had almost sent him to the next world. He refused to give up, but then something happened that even the prophets couldn't have predicted would ever occur. The giant log they were just fighting with flew straight into MTI's head, sending him to dreamland once again. Now Hector was finally ready to believe his brother Fang's words and admit his luck was truly the best. But the battle wasn't over as the leaders kept clashing for their tribes, pushing each other back repeatedly now. Their fierce struggle lasted for way too long, and both their arms were starting to go completely numb today. Chen couldn't take another hit, but the enemy situation wasn't any better as the mountain tribe leader started failing. The witch's servant brought him red leaves following orders to use the herb even if it felt like cheating. By burning the leaves, the chief could escape home safely, while the servant hid from the smoke nearby underwater. He planned to watch the newcomers suffer, remembering the witch's warning about the consequences shortly before the war started. Our hero realized he had to abandon reason and strengthen his body with red Janang to use the power. He used the power of Pangu to fight back, and trust me, you and I won't want to miss what's next. Stick with me because that red Ginung herb could have totally flipped the script for the mountain tribe leader. He did not want to use it, but the witch already knew his stubborn personality and sent her servant. The plan was to light that herb whenever things got messy, but nobody was moving fast enough for our hero Chen. He could not let the enemy gain any more ground, so he put every ounce of strength into one massive swing. The shockwave was so brutal it flattened trees behind the chief, and that poor servant barely escaped with his life. He dodged just in time, but feeling Chen's intense glare on him, he knew he could not stall any longer. If the chief would not light the Ginongs, he would do it himself, grabbing a torch and the fallen leaves. He scrambled for the leaves, ready to spark a game-changing power-up for the coming fight. Now watch this. The leader stops him, instantly slicing the torch in half and putting out the flame. Even if it meant making the witch angry, the chief was not playing along with his servant's weird behavior. He did not buy the story for a second, and doubted the witch ever gave such a ridiculous command. He kicked the servant out, leaving the man fuming while he gripped those useless leaves in total disbelief. Feeling disrespected, the servant warned the chief that punishment was coming as he stomped back toward the witch's lair. Chen watched the whole drama unfold, his own power somehow surging even as this long battle dragged on. Honestly, he was running on fumes after fighting that Iosaur and rushing straight to the border without a break. His legendary Pangu power was practically zero, making his vision blurry and his head spin like a top. He knew he was about to collapse, hoping for just one lucky hit before his body totally gave out. Passing out was a certainty, and looking around, his soldiers were not doing much better in this exhausting fight. They were drained and could not help their king anymore, leaving Chen to rely strictly on his own inner strength. He prayed his next attack would land, because if he missed, the mountain tribe would wipe them all out. Their entire settlement was at risk of being flattened forever, and that was not even his biggest worry yet. You and I saw that leader toss the Ginning right. That move could have guaranteed him a 100% victory. Instead, he argued with a servant and threw his victory away, which just seemed totally irrational to Chen. Chen could not make sense of it, but he figured it was better to use his fists than sit around overthinking. While he still had some gas in the tank, he had to take this chance to finish the chief. He lunged forward again and again, desperately trying to find an opening while the chief held his ground. The chief actually loved the challenge, thrilled to be trading blows with a warrior as powerful as Chen. He kept egging Chen on to go all out, but only noticed something strange when they both slowed down. Looking at Chen's mangled arm, the leader realized those injuries did not even come from their current duel. He assumed Chen must have performed some crazy sacrificial ritual to get this insane amount of raw power. Things just got 10 times more intense, but everyone could feel this fight was reaching its breaking point. The chief was fading fast since the witch's borrowed divine power was starting to leak out of him. Knowing he could not dodge anymore, he decided to gamble everything on one final massive offensive strike. He just wanted a fair ending, promising to spare Chen's little tribe if he managed to win this final clash. Chen appreciated the honor, but he did not need pity, letting out a roar as their opposite powers collided. The weapons slammed together, triggering a massive explosion that carved a giant smoking crater right into the solid earth. Nobody knew who survived until the dust finally settled, revealing the aftermath of their world-shaking battle. The soldiers spotted the mountain leader slumped in a rock dent, covered in blood and completely defeated. Silence fell as they realized the newcomers had won their land back, but Chen's struggle was not over. The ropes on his arm snapped, sending a wave of agonizing pain through his body like never before. If that happened mid-fight, he would have lost even with all that incredible Pangu power backing him. Using that power had a heavy price, and his legs finally gave out as he leaned on Au. Au caught his king, but then the queen's desperate cries for help echoed through the air. Chen's strength was totally gone, so he handed the command over to Lisa, before his world went dark. You and I just witnessed a total legend in the making, and Alana was his very last thought. Alright, you and I are jumping back in as Chen recovers from his sudden bath time collapse while his allies look after him. While he was out, Lisa handled everything like a pro, only checking on him in the common house late at night. But today he wakes up and spots her half-dressed, so he quickly pretends to still be asleep to avoid making it awkward. He doesn't want to embarrass her, but when she sits on his bed, he starts panicking and holding back his true reaction. She starts teasing him, tracing her fingers over his body while watching for any kind of movement he is trying to hide. Eventually, she calls his bluff. She knew he was awake all along and just wanted to play a little game with him. Super embarrassed, Chen finally opens his eyes and desperately tries to talk about tribe business as if he were actually worried. It doesn't work. Lisa just moves closer to his face, laughing off his attempts to be serious about the tribe affairs. She mocks him for asking questions, now assuming he is too weak to even move, and threatening to test his limits. She wants to see what he's capable of in this state, which catches our hero completely off guard and very unprepared. Chen had mentally prepared for this, but he always imagined it would happen on his own terms as a courageous king. He wanted to prove his endurance, but with her being this stubborn, everything is going totally wrong for him right now. Now pay attention, this is where the system drops a quest that is absolutely positively insane for our hero. It's called 7 Times in a Night. Apparently, a true leader has to be the strongest in every single category of life. He has to go 7 rounds, and one must last an hour, all for a lucky reward of 5 gold nuggets. The gold sounds great, but the punishment for failing this task is enough to make anyone quit the game entirely. If he fails, the system will force him to change his personal orientation. That is one high-stakes mission for poor Chen. He is still exhausted from his last big fight with the mountain leader, and his arm is a total mess today. He is convinced he will die, trying to finish this because the requirements are just way too ridiculous to meet safely. It feels like a boss fight, where you just choose to give up before the enemy lands the very final blow. He tries to ignore the notification, thinking the system gave him a real choice to say no or just ignore it. But nope. In this world, silence equals consent. The quest is officially active, and now he is really stuck with it. Here's where it gets wild. Watch what happens while he's struggling to keep Lisa at a distance with angry screams. Today was looking like his worst day ever with zero rest and a very persistent lady who won't leave him alone. He was praying for help when suddenly a literal gift of fate rams right through his house and grabs him away. Zunda the bear appears and snatches him up. He has never been so happy to be kidnapped in his whole life. The quest isn't cancelled, but he is away from Lisa, though the bear is moving deeper into the dark forest. He yells at her to stop, but she just keeps dragging him further away until they reach a mysterious mountain cave. He starts thinking he is about to become a snack, wishing he had stayed home and just resigned to his fate. He endures the pain until he's dumped at a cave, totally confused about what they are going to do out here. He looks around cautiously, wondering why he was brought all the way out here to the middle of the dark woods. Suddenly, some tiny cubs run out to greet the big bear. It turns out Zunda is actually a very proud mother. Our hero is shocked. He never realized Zunda was a girl, let alone one balancing motherhood with being a tribe protector. A new quest pops up immediately. These two cubs are ready to join his settlement under their mother's very strong influence. He doesn't hesitate. He takes them in, knowing this provides the settlement with some very reliable protection for many years. In just a few years, these little guys will grow into full-fledged warriors and protectors of the entire human tribe. He confirms the request and sees the village population has grown by another 20 people already. Not bad at all. That brings him to 98 total. Base strength is 68 plus his 3 massive man-eating bears joining the squad. Reaching that milestone triggers a huge main quest to expand his territory to 10 square kilometers in just 6 months. He has to recruit 300 people by the deadline. The system is finally getting very serious with him again. It's been forever since his last major mission. He almost forgot the system even had a main storyline to follow. The rewards look awesome, but the tasks are getting tougher. He really has no choice but to push forward anyway. He needs to speed up military preparations and teach the rest of the tribe the basics of farming and survival. With 3 giant bears guarding the perimeter, at least he doesn't have to worry about external threats for a while. And that's where we leave it. Trust me, you and I are definitely going to see things get even crazier. All right, you and I are jumping back in as Chen decides to name his bear cubs out of pure boredom. The mother bear is all ears, hoping for something cool, but most of his ideas are totally lame for future killers. He finally settles on June for the brown one and Shunan for the red one, way better than his first few tries. The cubs have no clue what he is saying, but they feel their mom's good vibes and snuggle right up. But let's be real, the vacation's over and he's got a massive pile of work waiting for him back home. Checking his system map, Chen starts scouting the neighboring tribes and planning his next big move, or maybe an invasion. Turns out having a magical cheat map is actually super helpful for a guy like him. He hasn't even been to the western camp yet, but the map already shows him every guard post and trap. His 2-day plan involves teaching the new folks how to farm before heading out on a secret scouting mission. First things first, though, the man is hungry and needs a solid meal before he does anything else. After that big fight with the mountain tribe leader, he totally missed out on the reptile meat, so he hopes there's leftovers. Surprisingly, the village didn't touch a single bite without the chief's okay, because they all know he's the best cook. They literally waited 3 days for him to recover just so he could make dinner talk about some loyal foodies. With his belly full, it's time to pack his bags and head over to check out the neighbors for himself. Now pay attention because he's actually riding a bear now, and Lisa is here to see him off on his journey. He leaves the bear cubs with the hyena trainer and makes sure everyone has a job while he's gone. He specifically tells Lisa to make sure the warriors don't accidentally blow each other up with their fancy new catapults. Since Alana is still a bit fuzzy on her memories, he asks her to keep a close eye on Ao. Honestly, he's nagging so much that Lisa gets fed up and basically kicks him out of the house to start. He's still a little worried about Ao, though, because she's been looking pretty down in the dumps lately. She's handling the millet crops perfectly, just like he asked, but she's still acting like her world just ended. She really didn't want him leaving without her, and even begged him to send her to the mountain tribe instead. Lisa tells her to chill out, reminding her that Chen has a massive bear for protection, so he'll be fine. Thankfully, he manages to head out without a scene, leaving the queen in charge while he hits the road. But wait, Lisa is starting to get suspicious about Ao's behavior, and you and I can see why she's worried. She's keeping a close eye on the girl, but also sends her best spies to follow Chen just in case. She hasn't forgotten how the bear basically stole her husband last time, so she's making sure he's actually just scouting. She really wants to know what he's up to, but hopefully she never finds that secret cabin tucked in the woods. Meanwhile, out in the wild, Chen starts sneezing like crazy, even though it's not even that cold outside yet. He can't tell where the draft is coming from, so he just blames it on his wound not being healed. Soon enough, he hits a steep mountain that forces him to take a long detour around the jagged rocks. While the bear looks for a way up, Chen checks the area and thinks this would be a killer fortress. If he lived here, he'd set up defenses just like the mountain tribe to keep his people safe and sound. He starts mapping out a plan to attack from the back while sending the main group through the front. Before he can finish his master plan, some border guards spot his massive bear and come out to investigate. Chen tries to be a nice guy, introducing himself and asking to speak with whoever is in charge around here. The guards aren't having it, telling him the leader is way too busy to talk and he should just leave. They even threaten to attack him if he stays, which is really not the warm welcome he was hoping for. Chen tried to be polite, but these guys have zero manners, so he starts reaching for his trusty battle axe. But just as he's about to lose it, some prisoners in the background catch his eye and stop him. He heard prisoners usually wore heavy chains, but these people look a little different than the stories he heard. Wait, he recognizes the mountain chief and MTI among the crowd, and they aren't even carrying any heavy loads. Chen is totally baffled, so he sends Junda forward to push the guards aside and get a better look. He couldn't believe a leader would fall this low, but once they explained their rules, it all made sense. A witch here steals power from losers, turning them into slaves, and trust me, you and I need to see what's next. Alright, stick with me as we jump back into Chen's journey, where a way stronger man has just taken over the leadership. It was basically divine intervention that Chen was forced into this talk. After hearing the news, the new guy appeared on the mountain. He just stared down at our hero with a total high and mighty attitude. He didn't even bother defending the tribe himself. Instead, he sent his soldiers to take care of the intruder. These tribespeople were wild, uncontrollable, and honestly, pretty scary. They were already using harpoons and were experts at sprinting up steep cliffs since their feet were used to the rocky terrain. As soon as they hit the halfway mark, they started raining harpoons down, trying to trap Chen so he could not escape. To keep his companion Junda safe from any harm, Chen had to go all out, slicing every single harpoon right in half. But not everyone got away clean. These savages didn't even care about their own former teammates and just attacked everyone. Only a few, like the former leader, Jui and Muti, managed to shield themselves behind some cargo, but they still had to fight. Jui knew better than anyone what our main character was capable of, but he wasn't about to just give up and die. Under heavy pressure from the guards, they were forced to grab their weapons and launch a combined attack against poor Chen. Watching the mountain tribe slowly close in on all sides, our hero realized he had no choice but to fall back. He was pretty annoyed that the new boss refused to show his face, but there wasn't much he could do right then. Sure, he could probably wipe them out with the power of Pangu, but he didn't want to burn all his energy too early. Now pay attention here, he needed time to come up with a better plan rather than just charging in blindly. Chen didn't want to head home with bad news, so he decided to camp out in the forest near the mountain. While Junda was busy splashing around and catching some fish for dinner, our hero kept a close eye on the patrols. These guys were relentless, even carrying torches through the night to search for him. They really wanted him found. He quickly figured out that getting to them wouldn't be easy. Their real boss was actually a witch hiding in the shadows. She was pulling all the strings. If Chen took down the current leader, she would just appoint a new puppet immediately. They'd just keep replacing each other until the protagonist was exhausted and the new settlement was finally wiped out for good. He had to put his thinking cap on and find a way to track down the witch's lair and kill the puppeteer. Meanwhile, another hunt was going down on the other side of the river. It was a totally different kind of chaos. Junda noticed some bushes rustling and growled at the noise. Chen told her to stay hidden and just watch the fight. Massive clouds of dust kicked up as a terrified lizard ran from the trees with dozens of people crawling on it. They were all over its skin like fleas, biting and tearing at the poor creature. It was a brutal way to hunt. Our hero had never seen anything like this before. By the time they were done, the reptile looked like a sieve. You and I saw that coming, right? Well, Chen was so shocked by their speed that he accidentally hit a branch. The dry leaves made a loud crunch, and the herd of strangers, as he called them, immediately looked right at him. Luckily, they didn't have time to investigate and just ran off. It was a total miracle that Chen avoided a big fight. He breathed a sigh of relief when they vanished, but he couldn't stop thinking about them. His curiosity was driving him crazy. He told his bear friend to stay put while he crossed the river to make sure those strange hunters were actually gone. He tried to move fast without being seen, but for some reason he just couldn't catch up to them at all. Considering how big their prey was, he didn't get how they moved so far so fast. Their lair had to be close. Maybe they hid the beast nearby, but he wasn't going to find out anytime soon because he was suddenly jumped from behind. A woman attacked him from the bushes, tickling his body with her big fluffy tail while her ears moved around independently. She happily called Chen a naughty boy, but it turns out she was actually going after the completely wrong person. Once she saw his face, she realized she'd been chasing an innocent man who didn't belong to the local werewolf tribe. She was totally impressed by Chen's speed, though, since she thought only werewolves could move that fast through the forest. She had no idea that our hero's agility came from his own training, not some tribal lineage or wolf blood. He tried to talk things out peacefully, but then he noticed a group of women in camouflage outfits heading their way. They were moving toward Chen fast, so the stranger jumped off to protect herself from the people chasing after her. She climbed a tree and started yelling in frustration. Even if she liked the protagonist, she wasn't happy about the attack. It was pretty reckless of her to go running into someone else's territory, but she definitely had a good reason. And that's where we leave it. She warned him about the serious dangers waiting on this side of the river. She told them to run as far as possible from the river, then vanish just as quickly as she had appeared. Now stick with me because our hero is left alone to face those pursuers who were actually Lisa's own secret spies. Chen thought about asking them for werewolf info, but since they knew absolutely nothing, he just moved on to his next question. Curious how Feng ended up in this specific forest, he leaned in, took her by the chin, and made her face him. Locking eyes felt like torture to her. Her face was burning up, and she totally wanted to sink right into the ground. She was so embarrassed, she almost spilled all her secrets, not realizing that he was actually just teasing her the whole time. Since he knew exactly who sent her, this was his little way of punishing her for the stalking before heading back to the river. It was a tough pill to swallow, but they just weren't strong swimmers. That current was moving way too fast, even for Junda. Chen told them to find another route while he headed back to the bear. Meanwhile, Feng and the squad were making their move. They crossed that river, easily reaching the mountain trail just before dawn, right where the nightly patrols usually do their rounds. After sharing everything he'd learned, Chen asked for help, scouting a secret path up the mountain to avoid being seen by the enemy. Climbing up unnoticed was the top priority now, so he put that whole werewolf girl situation on the back burner for a while. It was time to map out the attack plan. Someone had to stay behind near the main road to keep an eye on the guards. Chen barked out orders and started heading west along the river, promising he'd be back before sunset the very next day. He figured going downstream was a solid plan, since the river eventually led to a massive waterfall further down the line. This had to be the spot where Alana made her escape toward the sea. Looking at that drop, though, it was absolutely huge. You're going to want to see this part. Chen stared at the drop, doubting anyone could survive a jump from that height. His only real option was to climb up silently, but the thought of enemies above and a raging current below kept him on edge. There was no turning back now. In his mind, it was either succeed or face a very messy end at the bottom. Thinking of a way past the guards, Chen decided to play it safe and take a different route through the thick, dense bushes. He was really hoping the gods were on his side so those patrols wouldn't spot him, but today just wasn't his lucky day. Deep in the thickets, he stumbled right into a mysterious group of people moving through the woods in total silence. It was way too dark to tell who they were, so Chen took a massive risk and started following them through the shadows. Hiding in the brush, he managed to listen in. Most of the group didn't even trust their own guide to lead the way. But since they were stuck in such a bad spot, following him was pretty much the only choice they had left. The guide claimed he'd left the tribe of newcomers for good, and that this was his way of finally making things right. Despite the huge risks he was ready to lead them, he'd even secretly mapped out all the trap locations to keep them safe. They were lucky to have met him, but to Chen this whole situation felt extremely fishy. Something just didn't sit right with him. It was clear they were up to something secret, but the most unsettling thing was the guide's voice. It sounded so familiar. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Who is this guy? Well, the moonlight finally hit the clearing and revealed the truth. It was Liang, the same guy who'd been leading the old mountain tribe members through all those deadly forest traps. Seeing him in action, Chen suspected he was actually working undercover, though the tribesmen were too clueless to even realize it. He was dying to know how Liang had managed to find out about the traps they had only just finished setting up recently. Instead of jumping them in the dark, Chen decided to hang back and follow them to see where this whole thing led. Eventually the moon faded and the sun came up, forcing the mountain tribe members to keep moving under the scorching heat. Everyone was exhausted and begging for a break, but Liang wouldn't let them stop claiming they were almost at the mountain. He literally dragged the twins to their feet, forcing them to keep walking, despite the fact that they were completely spent. You'd think their burning desire to take out our hero would give them a second wind, but they were just too tired. They pushed through a journey that should have taken 24 hours in just half a day, which is honestly pretty impressive. Divine powers would have made this a breeze, but they had to reach the newcomer tribe the old-fashioned way on foot. Pointing at the watchtower, Liang warned them that the guards would definitely spot them soon if they weren't careful. There was no place to hide in such an open area, especially since they were dragging that giant beast along with them. That thing could be seen from miles away. Liang didn't want them getting caught, so he sent everyone back into the mountains. Using every trick in the book, he manipulated the group, trying his absolute best to lead them straight into the newcomer tribe. And that's where we leave it for now. Liang is leading them right into a trap zone. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are about to see how this settlement raid kicks off with Jui leading the charge. Taking out Chen was his big idea, but the rest of the crew had to do the heavy lifting themselves. He told them they were free to bail, but he'd be the one bringing Chen's head back to the witch. Nobody wanted to miss out on getting their divine powers back, so they all kept marching forward like good soldiers. Even Xiao followed along with his brother, feeling like Jui was going to need every bit of help he could get. Meanwhile, on the next mountain over, Hangshare was doing some scouting and spotted a group of hungry-looking travelers. Once he saw Liang in the group, he started shouting. He couldn't figure out why they were walking into a trap. Hangshare yelled at the top of his lungs, trying to show them the safe path back home, but nobody responded. He was just trying to be nice, but he actually ended up messing up Liang's big, complicated plan. If it were anyone else, Liang wouldn't have bothered saving them. He probably would have just called the patrol to arrest them. At this point, his only hope was that the traps he set up were actually going to work when triggered. Suddenly, Liu Tang accidentally kicked a tripwire and set off that exact trap that they were all really worried about. The ground literally vanished under their feet, and they went screaming down into a deep pit filled with sharp pins. Liang didn't really care how bad they were hurt, as long as one person stayed alive to talk to Chen. Now pay attention here. Everything depended on how fast Hangshare could move to make the whole next part work. As Liang passed out, he was praying that the patrolman would show up and bring our hero to them in time. But Chen actually showed up way earlier than expected. He pulled everyone out of the pit and started treating them. He waited for Lisa to bring backup while working on their wounds, though he didn't fix them up all the way. Since they were still half dead, he didn't even need to tie them up. They weren't exactly in fighting shape anymore. Lisa totally agreed with that move. She even suggested turning the whole group into her personal servants right then and there. But Liang, the man who betrayed her, begged to stay in that weak state. Lisa just wanted to use her whip on him. Chen stepped in before she could do it. He told her they couldn't judge the guy until he actually woke up. The rest of the tribe was on her side, though. They figured a couple of prisoners was plenty for an interrogation. They didn't feel like keeping everyone alive was necessary, especially since their medical supplies were starting to run pretty low. Chen knew he couldn't just waste valuable medicine on outsiders when his own people might need it more down the road. You and I both know Jui isn't the type to betray his community easily, even after everything he went through. Even when he was treated like a slave, he never gave up on proving his loyalty and becoming a warrior again. He was super close to the twins, MTI and Ando, and he'd do just about anything to keep them safe. Since he promised Chen he wouldn't kill his people, he felt like he had to return the favor somehow or other. Despite Lisa constantly bugging him, our hero decided to heal them anyway, hoping Jui would finally start listening to him. He at least wanted a thank you, especially since he'd already blown a ton of money and supplies on these guys. So thanks to that one nice choice, Liu Tang got moved to a house while they went to talk to Jui. Jui finally woke up, so Chen gave out some orders and took him somewhere private to get the real story. They went to a remote spot so nobody would overhear them. From what Jui said, nobody has actually seen the witch. Apparently all the orders and info come through a little girl. She's the one who even handles the most important sacrifices. She claims to be the witch's messenger and says she's completely immune to any kind of power or curse. According to the girl, the witch's body is covered in cursed symbols that would kill anyone who gets too close. The tribe had seen that divine power before, so nobody was brave enough to doubt her. They were all terrified. They were so scared of the curse that they actually left the witch's cave completely unguarded the whole time. With that info, it looked like raiding the village was going to be a lot easier than our hero first thought. But wait, collapse. The new leader wasn't going to be a pushover. Everyone knew his power was basically on a whole other level. Jui mentioned that the leader's divine strength only comes from a specific ritual they do every single day. They have to light a sacred fire, which means they can't do it if it's too rainy or too windy outside. On those bad weather days, the chief and his whole clan actually lose most of their crazy divine powers. And that's where we leave it. Trust me, you and I are going to see those vulnerabilities exploited very soon. Alright, you and I are diving into the mountain trails where even experts avoid the paths during a storm. Staying home is the smart move when downpours and heavy winds hit, because travel takes forever in that mess. Every bit of info Jui gave Chen had to stay a total secret, hidden away from anyone who might listen. Chen actually congratulated him since Jui was officially a traitor to the mountain tribe with nowhere left to go. Chen offered him a spot on the team instead, and though it was tempting, Jui turned him down immediately. He usually keeps his mouth shut, but when it came to our hero, he decided to tell him everything voluntarily. Jui thanked Chen for calling him a worthy traitor, but he still could not bring himself to accept the offer. No one forced him, though. Chen just handed him his things and let him rest until he fully recovered. On the contrary, he was given his belongings and a place to wait for the team to recover. After a real talk between two smart guys, Chen hoped they would not be enemies the next time they met. 5 days of peace followed, and the tribe spent every minute prepping ingredients for their new firecrackers. Luong was helping them out, but Ao was still really worried about having a former enemy in their village. As soon as they were alone, she asked the main character about it, wondering why he would trust that man. But look, the only reason he played the traitor was to get vital info, and he practically risked everything. Now pay attention here. Jui finally left the camp with his team carrying enough food and weapons for everyone. They were going into foreign lands for a while, so they took all the basics they needed to survive. Our hero provided everything he could spare, leaving the rest of the mission up to their own survival skills. After saying goodbye, the newcomers started prepping for the big assault, checking their shields, poison, and all those firecrackers. Everything was almost ready, so they just had to wait for the storm and hope for a bit of luck. On the final day of preparations, the rookie tribe was busier than ever, with everyone rushing to get gear ready. Prep for the attack had the rookie tribe busier than ever, with everyone handing out the accumulated resources. While the warriors got ready for victory, Chen was off in a corner bargaining with the system itself. He was fuming that 3 hemostats cost 70 tech points, especially when he thought prices would stay totally stable. But then the shop started doubling prices after every single purchase, which was a huge blow to his plans. There was no choice, so our hero had to dance to the system's tune while waiting for the commanders. Finally, they showed up. The queen brought Stonebone, Hector, and the other leaders to finalize the plan. First, they split the soldiers into 4 groups. Hector was told to take 3 reliable units and follow Feng. Since she had found where the slaves were kept a few days ago, she could guide them at the perfect moment. She could direct them in the right direction at the most appropriate time while the other groups moved in. I know what you are thinking. She totally disagreed. She did not want to leave a traitor alone with children. The main force would hit them head-on to distract them while the rest stayed safe back at the settlement. When the sun rose, Chen sat down with Lisa to see what she thought of the whole attack plan. She disagreed with leaving Liang there, but she could not think of a better way to handle the situation. Chen was taking every able-bodied warrior to war, so the village needed someone to protect the vulnerable ones. Besides, Liang's wounds had not healed enough for him to cause any real trouble, even if he wanted to. Most importantly, he knew people were still angry at him, which created the perfect chance to prove his loyalty. This was the perfect chance for Luong to prove he was innocent while taking care of the village residents. The enemy this time is his own tribe, and it would be cruel to make him fight them now. While Chen and Lisa were talking, the hurricane they had been waiting for finally started to roll in. The wind was incredibly strong, but they noticed some moisture in the air as they stepped outside the building. If it rained too early, their firecrackers would be useless, so Chen ordered everyone to gather up right away. They reached the waterfall, which was a perfect blind spot, and Chen told Feng to stay put right there. Alana was waiting nearby in an ambush, ready to grab anyone who accidentally fell into the roaring water. Shunda came along too, covering their backs and keeping an eye out for any approaching enemy threats. You and I watched them scale that cliff, and now our hero is finally reaching the very top. Alright, you and I are about to watch a mission where success depends on finding and destroying a mysterious witch. Following the plan, Stonebone lit a firecracker and tossed it right at the guards to start the chaos. The blast stunned them, giving the signal to attack for every warrior who heard the loud explosion. They charged into the mountain tribe, sweeping them away, while collapse emerged to the sound of screams. He ordered his men to fire, so Stonebone formed a defensive unit to shield everyone. They protected themselves from sharp harpoons, forcing Collapse down since they had no right to retreat. The mountain tribe realized they couldn't fight so many warriors alone, so they waited for reinforcements. Collapse didn't have his divine power today, so he was forced to wait for the fighters to tire. He was stalling for Stonebone's squad to exhaust themselves before the rest of his warriors joined in. While the main squad distracted the mountain tribe, Hector was actually positioned right at the top of the waterfall. Now pay attention. Hector was cleverly hiding in ambush to rescue the sea tribe members being driven across the mountain. The battle was a fierce fight for survival. Collapse praised their decision to stay and fight. But he still didn't understand why his reinforcements hadn't arrived yet, and his patience was wearing thin. The newcomers were pushing deeper into the center of the mountain, so he simply couldn't wait any longer. Under his frantic shouting, the rest of the troops joined the fight and began to push back. They tried to force Stonebone back to the exit, but facing the crowd became easier for them. Stonebone used his body to cover the wounded, though the enemy blows were far too powerful. His shield couldn't fully block the attacks, and after taking a blow, Stonebone coughed up blood. He remained a human punching bag until the wounded escaped, then grabbed medicine and ran after them. Luckily, Lisa and the girls were in the second line of defense as the main group passed. They launched firecrackers to block the path, giving the soldiers a reliable defense, while Stonebone immediately drank his medicine. He began to reorganize the formation, knowing you and I are about to see a decisive battle. Meanwhile, Chen managed to reach the witch's hiding spot and went into the cave, just as Jui said. It was surrounded by strange symbols and stakes that no one dared to approach until our hero arrived. But as soon as our protagonist reached the entrance, he smelled a sweet scent wafting from deep within the cave depths. He noticed barrels filled with honey and heard a voice ordering him to leave a donation and leave. The voice warned him to run before the witch cursed him, so he headed toward the sound. He assumed the loud voice belonged to a little girl, but she wasn't giving up that easily. She hid between the barrels and changed positions, but then she got angry and started to scream. She accused Chen of stupidity because she'd never seen a brave man who wasn't afraid of curses. Chen assumed she might be the witch deceiving the tribe and ran to stop her noise. He hit her on the head and put her on his shoulder to leave the cave quickly. The mountain tribe has never actually seen what their witch looks like in person, which was lucky. Even if he killed her, they wouldn't believe it, but he could try to blackmail them instead. At that moment, rain began to pour from the sky, turning the solid ground into thick mud. The war continued as Stonebone tried to keep the squad positive, claiming Chen would return soon. Instead of our hero, a bunch of sea tribesmen appeared, having been successfully freed by Hector. Now free, they had plenty to say to Collapse and rushed into battle without any hesitation. It was time for revenge for their mistreatment, and they were ready to pay back in full. They surrounded the enemies and mercilessly attacked all those who had dared to threaten the newcomer tribe. Through pure stubbornness, they held out until a body was suddenly thrown off a cliff. Chen attracted everyone's attention to announce that their famous witch was dead and no one could help. He put a witch's mask on a mountain tribesman and threw him to the ground below. The tribe's mood shifted instantly as everyone realized the power of her deadly curse was gone. And trust me, you and I can hear the screams as their protection officially disappears. Alright, let's dive into this mess as Collapse's warriors desert him in total disgrace, leaving him completely alone. Fuming with rage, he attacks Lisa to at least hurt the queen. Honestly, her whip just does not scare him at all. He hurls his mace and bolts after the soldiers, but Stonebone jumps in immediately to shield her from the hit. Everyone is exhausted, yet Lisa wants to catch him. Without their leader or witch, that tribe is basically finished. Chen calls off the chase. Most of the mountain tribe warriors are way too banged up to keep the battle going. Our hero claims the victory and leads his people home. Time for some well-earned rest for the whole squad. He even uses the last of his emergency medicinal ointment. Hey, it is a small price to pay to save a life. Sadly, no war is without a cost. 5 of his men and 4 prisoners did not make it out of this alive. Chen has them buried in the northern forest right at the foot of the mountain to honor their service and memory. On the bright side, the population grew. 25 members of the mountain tribe decided to join the village this time. But it is still not enough. With tougher battles coming, the body count is only going to get much higher. Watch this part closely. The system forces these risks, but the payoff is always massive for the village. While checking stats, he hears the captured girl screaming her lungs out while tied tightly to a big tree. This little witch is threatening to bury everyone alive if they so much as think about touching her. Chen calls an Au, who actually has a lot of experience dealing with spoiled and moody little kids. Au works her magic using some sweet licorice root snacks found growing thickly near the camp. Now that she is calm, even Chen can approach the happy witch. Snacks are the way to her heart. He is convinced she is finally ready to behave and answer all the burning questions he has for her. He never guessed that if he got too close, she would lunge up and bite his hand as revenge for hitting her. She was not going to be fooled by a simple snack. She demands a mountain of honey just to start talking. Chen is not bothered by her attitude. He casually promises to provide her with honey for the rest of her life. Let's pause here. Once they strike a deal, he unties her and sits down to finally hear her story. This place might not be perfect, but she could get used to it. Anything is better than going back to her dad. Turns out her father belongs to a tribe of werewolves. She learned all her magic just by watching his rituals. His power was terrifying. He could literally transform an ordinary human being into a massive savage wolf. He used to be a normal guy, but another leader gave him this dark power through a special ritual everyone faced. Most girls were chosen to serve the leader, but Xiao Yu managed to dodge that terrible fate and ran away. She refused to live with those stinking werewolves, so she just packed up and escaped to another tribe. Chen realizes how dangerous these werewolves are. He decides to play it safe and leave them for the very end. Time flies while they talk about her life. Soon it is evening and time to give her a real meal. Gathering around the fire, he grills some juicy meat. He tells her to get some rest while she has the chance. Having the kid around means Chen is spending quality time with Lisa. She is thrilled, but meanwhile across the fire, Mia spots Ao looking stunning in a beautiful new dress and a flower wreath. This is her big night. She is clearly preparing for a late-night date with Chen, and Mia sees exactly what is going on here. But the winner isn't the one with the best outfit. It is whoever can run to our hero the fastest. Mia sprints through the fire at full speed, totally scaring Chen while he is just trying to chat. He didn't see that coming at all. You and I need to see what's next, so hit that subscribe button right now. And make sure to like the video,